Marvel animation. It's amazing, pun intended, how for years Marvel cartoons were able to bring peak animation and fun storytelling into the televisions of Marvel fans and just fans of animation alike.
Don't miss the premiere of X-Men, Saturday, October 24th on Fox.
Spider-Man, it's the special sneak preview.
And then, something happened.
Spectacular Spider-Man cancellation.
I'm very disappointed.
Show that had so much potential.
There was a lot of grumbling about what Marvel and Disney were doing with Spidey on the small screen.
Marvel animation started to dip. Its quality decreased. It wasn't the fault of those who worked on the show, but it was apparent. And these same fans I mentioned a while back? Well, they weren't happy.
Are you tired of buying shoddy posters online, or do those paper posters just keep falling off over and over again? Well, that won't be a problem if you check out the metal posters from Display.
Whoa, it's salesman Mauricio! Displayed is a one-of-a-kind metal poster designed to capture your unique passions, ranging from manga, sports, history, comics, movies, and more. They created a 21st century canvas that's sturdy, magnet-mounted, and durable enough to withstand a lifetime of intense staring. But staring is only half the fun. You can customize, collect, and rearrange them at will. It only takes 20 seconds to set them up, with no power tools, no damages, no frustrations. Look at how it brightens up boring walls.
Well, you look at that. Now that's cinema.
Wow! It's a good alternative to standard paper impressions or canvas printing, and best of all, he has a special Black Friday offer for y'all. You can get 1 or 2 displayed posters for 34% off, 3 to 4 posters for 38% off, and if you order 5 or more posters from Display, you get 42% off your order. So just go to the link in the description or pinned comment, and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout when using the link. And also check out my profile, browse through the stuff I like, or explore for yourself Display's amazing selection of metal posters. If you grew up with Marvel in the 2000s, you know there was a thing called Marvel Animated Features. And these films were actually really cool. They were fun rides through the Marvel landscape, and each one had a unique story and a distinct voice, with stories taken directly from the comics. And it started with Ultimate Avengers in 2006, a much superior adaptation to the Ultimates comic. This movie had the Avengers come against, you guessed it, the Chitauri. Yeah, I remember watching the Avengers movie from 2012 and thinking, wow, they kinda half-adapted Ultimate Avengers. It was honestly crazy, and the sequel film introduces Black Panther and the Chitauri come back. And this should be quite obvious, these movies were my childhood. Were they perfect? No, but this was PG-13 stuff, movies that had violence, blood. They pulled no punches at all. This was completely different from the stuff you'd watch on TV.
Animation is unique, that it makes it affordable. The challenge was to put a script together.
We wanted to begin this journey with a great retelling of a classic, which is the Avengers storyline, and that was redone by Mark Millar and Brian Hitch.
The reason we produced the movie in 2D primarily, although there are some scenes that have a little bit of a combination of 2D and 3D, is because we believe that the characters from the Marvel universe are so realistic. To do them in CGI would not allow us to capture the emotion that we want in these movies.
Whenever we could take a panel or a scene in its entirety or just for a moment, we tried to include it. There are places where, again, I think fans can grab their comic, put it to the screen, and see where they match up.
And after these two, more movies followed. Iron Man, Doctor Strange came out, and prior to these films, Marvel was already rocking it with X-Men Evolution, Spider-Man the New Animated Series, and the Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes. And then later on came Spectacular Spider-Man, Wolverine and the X-Men, Iron Man Armored Adventures, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and more. This was all peak Marvel Comics coming to the small screen in new and exciting ways. And all these films and shows were sometimes connected in fun ways too. For example, the theme created for Iron Man in his movie, yeah, that theme was used for Iron Man in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes as well. I actually remember pre-ordering the Blu-ray for the live-action Iron Man film at Circuit City, and they had an offer where they gave you the animated film to hold you off until the live-action one arrived. It was pretty nifty. And who can forget Hulk Versus, which included Hulk vs. Wolverine, an actual masterpiece of a movie full of wit, heart, and carnage? It's a brutal film, I adored it, I still adore it, and it introduced Deadpool to me in an animated form. It was truly a great time for me. And the Hulk too, because remember when the Hulk was like, actually scary? I think this is why Marvel became so dear in my heart, because Marvel was wild and weird, and always celebrated its comic book roots. And then, along came Disney.
All right, Disney is going to be, well, they're doing a deal this morning for about $4 billion.
And as you know, we've been focused on basically creating great content or buying great content.
No more adolescent angst or fear. Now we're obligated to bring cheer. Now the Hulk's emotions all are shared.
Then there is the people worried about it getting dumbed down. The violence, the serious storylines, and all the more serious characters.
Why? Is it just me, or is Disney just buying every sort of piece of pop culture out there?
What does this article say? Disney bought Marvel for...
Disney acquiring Marvel, sure, it gave them money to create better things, Marvel Studios was expanded and whatnot, but everything else? Yeah, no, see ya. Little by little, projects started getting canceled. Wolverine and the X-Men? Canceled. There were financial problems with their financing partner because Disney purchased Marvel while Fox owned the movie rights to the X-Men. The rights to Spider-Man went back to Marvel and then they were bought by Disney, so that's a no to Spectacular Spider-Man Season 3. And Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes? There was no cover for this one. They just blatantly canceled a show to launch Avengers Assemble, a show more in line with the world being created by Marvel Studios. Now, what the point of all this was to start over with a clean slate and connect the shows together better than before. A fine idea, the only issue was that it started becoming less about comics. This was more so about the more popular commercial thing. For example, while Black Panther appeared pretty much immediately in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, it took him 2 seasons to appear in Avengers Assemble to coincide with his appearance in Captain America Civil War. Worse yet, the shows weren't as visually dynamic as previous cartoons. Gone were these exciting, exaggerated designs. The visual style of the shows homogenized, so these brands could look similar to each other. The shows Avengers Assemble, Hulk and the Agents of Smash, and Guardians. And look at how they look, too. Not poppy or bright, just desaturated and kinda dull. Which is a bummer because a lot of these designs can actually pop and look good depending on how they're presented. It reminds me of how the MCU decided to grade all their movies evenly in Phase 2. They got criticized for it, and rightfully so, and they still kinda do this to an extent.
Why do Marvel's movies all look like muddy concrete? Like, look at that. It's a great scene, but that's really ugly.
And I'm pretty sure that the differing ideas of what to do made things messy, and the desire to focus on the MCU led to projects like Marvel Era not getting greenlit. If you watch Castlevania, the company behind the animation is called Powerhouse Animation. The CCO Brad Graber recently went on Twitter to talk about Marvel Era, a project pitched around 2012, 2013. It was meant to be something created for 2014, which would be the 75th anniversary of Marvel. It was meant to be a project that trekked through time from the 40s to the 2000s. Every animated feature would have a different art style, a different presentation, a different tone. And while the project looked amazing and they had been working for Disney Interactive, it never happened. Quoting Brad Graber, studio politics were complicated and we were green. They went on to make Castlevania. That's just how business is, and sometimes things happen, sometimes things don't. There's clearly no animosity or anything, but what is clear is Disney Marvel deciding to lean into the MCU instead of its comic book roots. In fact, the comics now change because of the movies. And so this weird thing started happening. Not only were the shows not great, but they kept getting worse. And it's not that the animators were at fault or the designers, it's the fault of those in charge, above writers and directors. It's like, hey, animation's expensive. Oh yeah, okay, spend less money. Yeah, that means the show will look worse and cheaper. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Boom. And so the show suffered. Like, man, looking at the drastic change is really disheartening. And it went on like this for nearly a decade. And that brings us to the present. What If has aired, and with it, brings back a certain charm that previous Marvel animated shows have been missing. And that is just this fresh feeling. It's not amazing though, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Disney focusing on animation is a good thing. They have the budget for it, and they've also announced Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is meant to trek Peter Parker's story before Civil War. But you know what I will say? I'm kinda bummed about that news. Like, maybe the show will be good, and this may sound weird, but I don't necessarily need Uncle Ben getting shot. I just want acknowledgement and solid writing that integrates the effects of what happened to Peter to his present-day situations, affecting who he is today. What I thought Spider-Man freshman year was gonna be was an original Spider-Man show, which we desperately need after that god-awful Spider-Man one finished airing in 2020, with its final episode, if I'm reading Wikipedia right, only having been watched by around 90,000 people. I want more original Marvel shows that don't rely on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's actually kind of frustrating, you know? But hey, if they're gonna focus on the MCU, at least they're starting to do it right. Not with sadly cheap-looking shows, but with full-on high-budget productions. And I guess because people have to pay for Disney+, Disney doesn't mind shelling out the big bucks. And hey, they made MODOK, Hitmonkey is a thing, and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is being made as well. Marvel animation seems to be returning, but in a new way, hyper-focused on the MCU for some reason, but at least what is coming out looks interesting. And who knows, it could lead to a whole new decade of great Marvel animation. Hey guys, this is essentially an ASMR outro, and the reason why is because I finished this video like pretty damn late. It's like 1 o'clock, and so everyone's asleep, and I don't want to yell and wake anybody up, so thank you so much for watching. Check out Interstellar Ranger Commence. It's an animated series that I'm making. It's going to come out on the channel on April 2nd, 2022. Make sure to get some merch. That'd be awesome. It's on the CrowdMade store, link in the description as well. Thank you Displate for sponsoring this video. I really couldn't have made it without him. And thanks so much patrons for supporting me. Your support means the world to me. It really, really helps. And I'm thinking of changing the chats to the chairs. You know, it's a Browntable, so that's an idea. So let me know what you think in the comments if you reached it this far. And if you did reach it this far, I love you so much. Thank you so much for coming to the table, and I'll see you all next time.